Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something really interesting. How do you actually redesign Google Maps for senior citizens in India, specifically, the app experience?
Right.
Our mission here is to basically pull out the key insights from this case study we found. We want to understand how to make this tool, which so many people rely on, more user-friendly, more engaging for folks over 60 in India.
Exactly. It's about making tech work for everyone. In this case study, it's really quite rich. It unpacks the specific needs of this group, and honestly, it offers some great pointers for anyone thinking about adapting widely used tech for, well, different people in different situations.
Yeah, how do you make something built for billions feel personal? Okay, so let's get into it. The study kicks off by looking at people over 60. That's our group. And the goal is pretty clear: get them using Google Maps more, increase engagement.
But it's not just about, like, opening the app once, right?
No, exactly. It's about making it genuinely useful, maybe even a regular thing for them. And the focus is very specific: the Android app and within India.
And there's that extra layer you mentioned, making it easy for people who aren't maybe super tech savvy.
Right. Bridging that digital divide. How do you do that carefully?
What's fascinating is how this study uses these three potential user personas.
Hmm.
They really help make the challenge concrete. So first there's Ramesh. He's 60, just retired.
Okay.
Started a wholesale business, apparently dislikes being home much, so he needs to travel. Across states, districts, looking for clients, collaborators.
And he's got some tech background.
Yes, former government engineer, so described as somewhat tech savvy, no health issues mentioned.
Okay, interesting profile. Then who's next?
Then we have Chitra. She's 65, lived in a Tier 2 city, wants to move near her son in Bangalore.
Near him, but not with him.
Exactly. Wants her independence. She's described as self-reliant, energetic, doesn't want to be a burden,
And her tech use.
uses her phone for YouTube, WhatsApp, and apparently quite comfortable with computers.
Okay. And the third persona.
That's Vishnu. He's 78. Lives in a smaller Tier 3 city with his kids. Doesn't go out a whole lot on his own. Daily walks, maybe hospital visits.
Ah, and for the hospital.
Always has a driver. And if he goes out otherwise, family usually comes along.
So three quite different situations there. When you look at Ramesh, Chitra, and Vishnu, the study seems to point towards Chitra having the most, relevant uses for Google Maps. Why her specifically?
Well, if you think about it, Kutra's desire for independence, combined with a big move, relocating, that just creates so many scenarios where a reliable navigation tool would be, incredibly useful.
Right. Finding her way around a new city, maintaining that autonomy she values.
Exactly. Ramesh's business travel is definitely a use case, for sure. But Chitra's situation maybe captures a broader set of needs for this age group. Things like connection, exploring new places safely, just being self-sufficient.
And Vishnu.
Vishnu's situation, relying on others for transport. While that's definitely a segment of the population, it presents fewer immediate independent use cases for the app itself. It makes you think, are we designing for proactive use or more passive reliance?
That's a really sharp distinction, proactive versus passive. Okay, so we have a better sense of who we're designing for, especially focusing on someone like Kitra. The next logical step is figuring out the hurdles. What are the pain points? The things stopping them from using maps or even beliefs they hold about it.
Yeah, and the study digs into this. There's some really common themes. A big one is just feeling overwhelmed. People literally said it's too difficult or they lose concentration trying to follow the map.
That makes sense. And what about just asking people?
That came up too. A strong preference for just asking for directions, which is, perfectly human and social, very traditional.
And the app itself, the look and feel.
Yeah, that was another point. The perception that the app is crowded,
Yeah.
challenging to operate.
Too much going on.
More options than I need. It suggests the sheer density of features, the visual clutter maybe, is a real barrier.
And that feeling of being overwhelmed, it's not just subjective, is it? Cognitive studies do show processing speed can slow down a bit with age.
Absolutely. Visually busy interfaces become much harder to scan, easier to make mistakes.
What else came up?
The voice assistant was a specific challenge. People found the accent hard to understand or the speed was just too fast.
Ah, okay. That's crucial for navigation.
Definitely. It really highlights how important clear, accessible communication is, especially with voice. The study also mentioned things like a reluctance to travel alone, especially in heavy traffic.
Nerves, maybe?
Could be. And also a tendency to forget appointments. Plus, sometimes family members worry about them traveling independently.
So it's not just about the app's interface. It's tied into broader concerns about mobility, memory, social support.
Exactly. It's a whole ecosystem of factors.
Yeah. These pain points really show why a tailored approach is needed. It can't be one size fits all. So what solutions does the case study float? How can we actually address these issues, make the app feel less daunting, more helpful?
The suggestions are quite practical, actually. One key idea is a simplified UI.
How would that work?
Well, potentially triggered by age identification. If the app knows you're over 60, maybe it offers a cleaner interface. Less clutter, bigger text, more direct paths to the main functions.
That sounds like it could directly tackle that overwhelmed feeling. What else?
Improving the voice assistant is high on the list. Adjustable speed, for one.
Letting the user choose the pace.
Exactly. And offering maybe a native English accent option for better clarity. Longer term, they even talk about translation into regional Indian languages. That would be huge.
Wow, yeah. Okay, what about navigation itself, getting around tricky spots?
This is where augmented reality, AR, comes in. It's an interesting proposal.
AR, like Pokemon Go style overlays.
Sort of. Imagine holding up your phone and you see arrows overlaid on the real-world view, pointing exactly where to turn.
Okay, I could see that.
Or maybe highlighting the correct lane you need to be in with a color change. It could really help with complex junctions, make it more visual, less about interpreting a 2D map.
That could be powerful. But are there potential downsides?
Definitely things to consider, like, would someone with hand tremors find it easy to hold the phone up steadily? Or just general comfort level with that kind of interaction while walking or driving? Needs testing.
Good point. Okay, what about helping with memory, routines, appointments?
For that, the study suggests contextual alerts.
Meaning?
The app could learn your patterns. Like if you always visit a park on Tuesday mornings, it might proactively suggest the best time to leave based on traffic.
Oh, smart. Like a reminder, but more dynamic.
Exactly. Or reminders for scheduled appointments. They even suggest tweaking the filters based on when you use the app. Like if you often use maps in the morning, maybe the parks or walking route filters are just more visible, easier to find then.
Making the relevant stuff surface automatically. I like that. And for users like Chitra, exploring a new city.
Yeah. For relocation scenarios, the idea is tailored suggestions. Prioritizing things often important to seniors. Closeness, good facilities, safety.
Just instead of just listing everything.
Right. Maybe it highlights well-rated, healthy restaurants nearby. Or accessible community centers, things relevant to settling in.
That feels more supportive.
And there's another nice touch, suggesting loved ones also download the app, maybe to help coordinate or just offer that sense of connection and backup.
Okay, lots of good ideas there. But you can't build everything at once. The case study mentions prioritizing using something called the RICE framework. Could you quickly break down what that is for anyone not familiar?
Sure. RICE is basically a way to score potential features to decide what to build first. It stands for reach, impact, confidence, and effort. So reach is, how many users will this affect? Impact, how much positive difference will it make to them? Confidence, how sure are we about those estimates? And effort, how hard is it realistically to build and implement?
Got it. A structured way to weigh the options.
Exactly. Bring some objectivity to the process.
So how did the study apply that thinking here? What floats to the top?
Well, it doesn't give exact scores, but it outlines the likely priorities. The initial focus would probably be on things with high reach and impact, but lower effort.
Such as?
Changes to the UI, simplifying things,
Yeah.
and adding that adjustable speed for the voice assistant. Those seem like relatively contained changes that could help a lot of users.
And easier to test early.
Yeah, you can prototype and get feedback on those kinds of changes more quickly.
Makes sense. What about the more complex stuff like the AR navigation?
The AR feature, yeah. Well, the impact could be huge. It's seen as something for later, not the first version, the MVP, or minimum viable product.
Why is that? Too much effort.
Likely higher effort, yeah. And probably lower confidence initially. There were challenges with testing AR thoroughly, device compatibility, varying internet quality across India, illumination issues.
Right, real-world complexities.
So better to tackle that once the basics are solid.
Okay, so UI, voice speed. What else for the initial phase?
The personalized suggestions and the basic rules engine for those contextual alerts, those are probably in the first batch too.
Because you can start simple and build on them.
Exactly. You launch a basic version, see how people use it, collect data, and then make it smarter and more refined over time. It's iterative.
Build, measure, learn. The classic loop.
Pretty much.
Okay, so let's fast forward. Imagine these first features: simplified UI, better voice, basic alerts are launched. How do you actually know if they're working? If they're making a real difference for senior users in India? What metrics does the study say to track?
They propose a really solid set of metrics. First off, click-through rates on those notifications. Are people actually tapping on the alert?
Shows relevance.
And do they return to the app after getting an alert? That's important too. They also suggest defining weekly active users WAU in a specific way for this group,
How so?
not just opening the app, but actually searching for a place. That indicates real intent to use the core navigation feature.
Clear signal of engagement. Got it. What else?
Monitoring how many users opt in to data sharing. Anonymized, of course.
Eh.
That gives you rich data for improving personalization down the line.
Makes sense.
Also, accuracy when people type in destinations. Is it getting easier for them to tell the app where they want to go?
Right.
That's a direct usability measure.
Yes, frustration.
And then the bottom line for navigation, success rate. How often do users actually get to their destination successfully and, roughly within the time expected?
These all feel very focused on the core task of getting somewhere. Are there any metrics looking beyond just A to B?
Yes. Interestingly, they also suggest tracking discovery and joining of any recommended groups or communities if that feature were built out.
Hinting at the social connection aspect.
Potentially, yeah. Fostering connection around maybe shared local interests or places. And finally, the big one for any app, 30-day user retention. Are people sticking with it? Are these changes making Google Maps a regular valued tool in their lives?
That's the ultimate test, isn't it? Sustained use. Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into this really thoughtful case study, what are the main things that stick with you? What's the core message here?
For me, the absolute number one thing is you have to deeply understand your specific users, their context, their actual needs. Those personas, Ramesh, Chitra, Vishnu, they weren't just caricatures. They showed the real diversity even within a group like over 60s in India. You can't paint with one brush.
So empathy and deep user research are key.
Absolutely. And then directly addressing the pain points they raised, not just guessing. Things like simplifying the UI, fixing the voice speed, those came directly from user feedback in the study.
Targeted solutions.
Right. And finally, you need clear ways to measure success from the start. Otherwise, how do you know if you're actually helping?
Totally agree. And for me, the real aha moment here is seeing just how much impact a user-centered approach can have. Taking a ubiquitous tool like Google Maps and really thinking, how can we make this genuinely work better, be less intimidating, more empowering for this specific group?
Yeah.
A group that maybe sometimes gets overlooked in the rush of mainstream tech design. It shows that good design really is inclusive design.
It really does. And that actually raises a final thought maybe for you, the listener, to chew on. Think about other technologies you use every day. Your phone, maybe apps you rely on, even things like self-checkout machines. How could their design be reimagined? How could they be adapted to better serve the needs of different groups? Maybe older adults, maybe people with disabilities, maybe just people who aren't digital natives.
Yeah. Who else might be struggling silently with designs we take for granted?
Exactly. It's a really interesting design challenge to consider. How do we make technology truly work well for everyone?